Artorias the human hero ends the Great War by defeating Demon King Baalier, bringing about peace to the Empire. That is the epic tale told in The Demon King is Dead, a fantasy book about a long war between demons and humans. Due to their losses during the war, the Empire focused on cultivating new talents in future generations, leading to the creation of Temple, an academy especially for talented children throughout the Empire. Within a school already composed of the greatest talents of the Empire, the Royal Class was created as a special class for geniuses among geniuses, and Ludwig, the protagonist of the novel, was a student of the Royal Class, though he was also last place. The novel was largely criticized by readers, and the author died of cardiac arrest from high blood pressure after reading all of the hate. After confirming his death and revealing to him how he died, an agent of the Hell Soul Management Department, a Grim Reaper, relays to him the sins he committed of quitting multiple serialization and writing stories with terrible continuity, brought about from his job as a web novelist. In order to get into heaven, he is tasked with picking one of his completed novels and being reborn as a random character that he has to survive as until the ending. Unfortunately, he never really wrote a book with a happy ending. He is given the choice between his finished books and he thinks it over. Keeping in mind that he'll become a random character, he picks The Demon King is Dead, the most peaceful of his completed novels that was meant to be a novel about after stories since the antagonist dies before the start of the novel. After locking in his choice, he is transported to an extravagant looking room and he finds he has horns on his head and a fancy outfit. Luckily, he isn't left completely to fend for himself, and the status window appears with the information about who he became and what he can do. As it turns out, he became Archdemon Baalier Junior, a lowest grade Demon King. Just as the castle is hit by an explosion, the status window gives him a mission with the 100 achievement point award to escape the Demon King's castle. Since he isn't the Demon King but is still a lowest grade Demon King, he could only be the Demon King's son, entering the novel as the Demon Castle is still under attack by the human army. Since the castle is blown up in the Demon King and the hero's final battle in the novel's prologue, he has to escape fast. He realizes that he'll definitely die if he gets caught once the humans end up winning the war, so Baalier takes a look at his status window again and thinks of the best plan of action. While he doesn't have any abilities that can help him at the moment, he is near the warehouse, and he searches for something that might be able to help him, finding a magic scroll book. Scrolls can be used even by those who can't use magic, so he searches through the book and finds a teleportation scroll that he believes can help him escape, but he learns of a barrier in place that prevents transportation spells once he tries to cast it. The next spell he tries, Camouflage, works and allows him to change so he looks like a human. His plan is to enter the prison and act like he was imprisoned by the demons so that he can fake being saved by the demon army when they free the other prisoners. Baalier is horrified to find dead humans and body parts strewn about the prison before he finds the survivor, a girl hunched over the body of a woman in one of the cells. He tries to comfort the girl and offers to wait with her for rescue. Mistaking her silence for a negative answer, Baalier attempts to backtrack before the girl tells him he can stay. Baalier happens to have found a pack of crackers in his pocket that he offers to share with the girl. Just as she takes a few bites of a cracker, the human army arrives to save them. Baalier silently questions the odd way the human army acts until one of the men kneels and addresses her as the Imperial Princess, Charlotte de Gradias. After being rescued while disguised as a human, he clears the first mission and gains 100 achievement points. Upon the princess's rescue, they are taken to the human camp where Baalier has to worry about the humans possibly getting suspicious and using dispelling magic to end his camouflage. As if that wasn't bad enough, the princess is also giving him special attention, which makes it almost impossible to sneak away. Since Charlotte was a character he never wrote about in the novel, she's a bit of a mystery to him in terms of what she might do or is capable of. She offers to return him to his home when everything is done and asks where he lives, but he fakes amnesia as a quick answer after seeing the threatening glare the guard is giving him, and the princess believes him without a second thought. Since he never wrote about the princess, assuming the world shapes itself on the most likely outcome, Baalier believes the Imperial Prince, Bertus, does something to get rid of her before she ever returns to the Empire so that he does not have any competition for the throne. Though he considers just letting it go and trying to escape, he realizes he can't just let a young child die if there is anything he can do to help. The princess convinces her guard to leave them alone and does an almost complete personality change once he leaves, immediately apologizing because she will cause his death. She even goes on to explain that Bertus will likely have her assassinated soon, and that most of the people in the camp are probably on his side. She doesn't know exactly how they will kill her, but she suspects they're holding her while they wait for orders from Bertus, and that he will be killed as well to get rid of all evidence. The knights are of no use either, since she doesn't believe she can trust anyone there. Rather than depend on others, the princess claims she would get them out of there and goes to grab the attention of the guards, putting their lives on the line as Baalier runs out of the tent after receiving instructions from her. Baalier enters a separate tent as he thinks back to the mission the princess gave him to find Sir Francis and bring him there. Not only is Sir Francis the knight who rescued them in the castle, he is also a rare neutral party who is only loyal to the imperial family itself, which makes him trustworthy. Since his survival is tied to hers, Baalier agrees to do what she says to find Francis. Charlotte's plan is to be the bait so that Baalier can escape and find Francis. Once she starts and distracts a few guards, he slips from the tent and is almost immediately confronted by another guard. When Baalier says he needs to find Sir Francis, he finds out that Francis was just dispatched to the Demon King's castle by Sir Lance, a member of the military headquarters, to take care of the demon remnants. Baalier then realizes Sir Lance was the guard that was giving him a threatening look before, and worries that he might have predicted their plans and moved first. He falls back on his only option and desperately pleads with the guard, saying that he needs to be taken to Sir Francis immediately to save him from the danger he is in. The guard questions him further instead of just immediately jumping to help Sir Francis. Taking an honest approach, Baalier explains that both Francis and the princess are in danger and that he needs Francis in order to save her. To Baalier's surprise, the knight believes him, with the reasoning that he's clearly desperate and that Sir Francis even predicted something of the sort. The guard introduces himself as Dyrus, and they go off to get his horse, even though Baalier has never ridden before. Unfortunately for them, Sir Lance was listening to their entire conversation around a nearby corner. On their way to the Demon King's castle, they pass demons being rounded up that will eventually be executed. They finally arrive at the location and meet a pair that relay that they just heard that Sir Francis died in battle among the demon remnants. The official cause of death might have been demon remnants, but Baalier realized that Sir Francis was probably lured to the castle and killed on Bertus's orders, so that anyone supportive of his sister would be out of the picture. Dyrus asks Baalier to reveal the entire story behind why they needed Sir Francis and what's going on with the princess, and Baalier debates with himself on whether or not Dyrus can be trusted, but he has no one else to trust, and tells him the story from being locked up with Charlotte to why they were looking for Francis. Dyrus understands that Sir Francis was probably killed by the other knights rather than demons as well, and pledges to assist the princess since he was part of Francis's group. Before they leave the area of the Demon King's castle, Baalier stops Dyrus to look through the demon supplies for items. Seeing the supply room in a bad state, Dyrus goes on about how the demons are selfish and probably raided their own rooms before they ran away. All the while, as the one who previously raided the supply room, Baalier avoids his gaze and brings attention to a mass teleport scroll that he had found earlier, acting like he just found it. After Baalier pretends to find more scrolls in the scroll book for the first time, Dyrus grows suspicious about how quickly he found them all, since he was supposedly just a prisoner before. They leave the supply room and come across a group of knights from the Solarian Duchy, one of the Empire's strongest noble families, that also heavily sides with Bertus. Baalier and Dyrus listen in on the knights talking about them, and one of the knights promises to find them quickly before his eyes sparkle a strange blue color and he points them out behind the statue. After they leave the cover of the statue, the Solarian knight insults the princess and speaks as if Baalier and Dyrus are already dead men. Dyrus tries to talk back, but the group of knights readies their weapons to attack. Just before the knights close in, the stone statue of a gargoyle that Baalier had been hiding behind with Dyrus moves into action and attacks the knights, and the two of them take the opportunity to run. They escape on horseback, and Dyrus questions why the statue suddenly moved, and even though Baalier states that he doesn't know, he looks over at his status screen again and focuses on the demon domination ability on it. He hypothesizes that he inadvertently awakened the demon with the ability, and hopes it won't be cause for Dyrus to suspect him. The other knights start catching up and chase them through the forest, and Baalier urges Dyrus forward while he uses a scroll to cast haste on the horse. Though they pull ahead a bit, the knights behind them start firing crossbows, so Baalier uses illusion on the horses rather than the riders, who would be immune to it. The first horse goes down, followed shortly by another one, a victim of the charm scroll. They run out of mind magic scrolls with the Solarian knights quickly gaining ground, so Baalier uses his demon domination ability again on a group of demon prisoners as they pass by, who go berserk and attack the Solarian knights. Dyrus' suspicions grow, but he focuses on the task at hand, saving the princess. When they get back and try to see the princess, they are denied entry, and Dyrus blocks the guards while Baalier runs into the tent, blinds the people watching over the princess inside with a flash scroll, and quickly uses the mass teleport scroll to escape with her to the imperial capital of Guardium. With their teleport, the prologue finishes, and status windows show that the future has greatly changed due to an important character that originally died, now surviving, and that Baalier has been awarded 1,000 achievement points. Guardium, the imperial capital, is where the original novel mostly took place and was modeled after where the main character was born, Seoul. After their arrival, Baalier explains what happened with Sir Francis being dead when he sees Charlotte's confused expression. Dyrus soon arrives behind them after having used a separate teleport scroll Baalier gave him for that very occasion as part of their Plan B. After introducing himself to the princess and giving an explanation for everything that happened, Dyrus escorts the princess and Baalier through the city. Baalier realizes how suspicious it was that he got helped by demons so much, and realizes that they may question him later, so he slips away from the group amid a crowded market. Alone in the city without money, Baalier is soon hungry and wishes he had created a setting for a demon to sustain himself on mana, and the system window pops up to tell him he can add the setting for 100,000 achievement points, the currency he received for saving the princess and escaping the castle. The system grants Baalier the authority to interfere with the world's authority, though in a somewhat snarky way, and he learns that he can earn more points by completing challenges. Even though most of the challenges are outlandishly difficult, he finds he can also spend points on revision to gift himself talents, basically the world's version of powers, change settings, or prevent story events. He can also use preview to check how decisions he makes change the timeline. At a loss of what to do, Baalier spends 150 points on writer's advice, and he receives clear advice to go to the magic store, and vague advice questioning how so many people were kidnapped at the Demon King's castle. Baalier tries to go to the magic store and other stores he can find to sell his scrolls from the Demon King's castle for money, but nobody takes the scrolls seriously and most believe he is a scammer of some sort, not recognizing the scroll inscriptions. Finally, he walks into a different store and again tries to sell the scroll, but the shopkeeper recognizes the scrolls for what they are, magic scrolls created using formulas only the demons use, and questions him. Baalier desperately tries to ask the notification window if it can change the settings to make the woman not make a big deal out of the scroll, but at 3,000 points, he cannot afford it. Being questioned again, Baalier tells her he took the scrolls from the Demon King's castle. This angers the woman, who threatens him with physical violence because she believes he is lying. Even after he explains the entire situation, she still takes him for a liar, but is finally convinced by all the details in his story and tries to comfort him. He still goes with the same excuse of having lost his memories that he used with the princess, but the woman uses Release Curse, a dispel type magic, to try to help him, which ends up releasing his camouflage magic and revealing him as a demon. Rather than getting angry or calling the guards, the woman immediately bows and recognizes him as the new demon lord. Baalier doesn't recognize her, so she releases her own disguise magic and reveals herself as a vampire, which still doesn't help him remember anything. They move the conversation up to a room on the second floor to avoid having someone walk in on them from the outside, and the vampire offers Baalier some food as they continue talking. She introduces herself as Elleris, a member of the Demon King Army's infiltration squad, Tuesday, and pledges to serve him. He questions why she's living in a place with so many people nearby, and Elleris explains her lack of funds, forcing her into the situation, while also informing Baalier of two other demons living within the city, Sarkagar, a dread fiend under the identity of Count Argon Pontius, and Irene's wild dog, a lycanthrope that leads a group of beggars, and also the one in charge of funding for the infiltration squad. Elleris consoles him for losing his memories with the knowledge that they can start rebuilding the demon world, but Baalier firmly pushes that idea away and has no intention of doing so, while also telling her that she doesn't have to follow him. She gives what appears to be a small smile before leaving him for the rest of the day. That night, Baalier lays in bed with Elleris sitting in a nearby chair and looking out the window. He asks about what kind of person he was, and her nervous reaction tells him that he definitely wasn't normal. They resolve to meet the other demons the next morning, and Elleris shares the bed with him as they fall asleep. The next day, the duo head beneath the Bronze Gate Bridge and through the sewers to meet Irene's wild dog, Lawyer. After Lawyer greets the Demon Prince, Elleris explains his lost memories, and Lawyer feels some relief that Baalier won't order her to act like a dog and do weird things like he used to. They go for a handshake, but Lawyer accidentally holds out her hand like a dog's paw, which ends up making her more flustered. Sarkagar then sprints through the tunnels and knocks Baalier down in a hug. Unfortunately, Sarkagar is a fanatic for rebuilding the demon realm, and Baalier was warned that he couldn't reveal his disregard for doing so to him. As they speak around a campfire in the sewers, Baalier brushes aside Sarkagar's comments on rebuilding the demon realm and getting revenge against the humans. While he tries to justify that Baalier's father was a great archdemon, Baalier asks what an archdemon is. He is given an explanation that an archdemon is a member of the species that united the fractured demon lands that used to always wage war against each other. Sarkagar wants the Demon Prince to get stronger, but Baalier counters that he's actually going to learn human ways and culture, which is the exact sort of thing Sarkagar wants to hear. They come up with the idea of Baalier infiltrating the Empire's Academy for Gifted Students, Temple, and growing stronger there and learning the Empire's secrets, and Sarkagar even gives him a ring that will allow him to freely transform into a human whenever he wishes. The demons help him with everything he needs to enter Temple, and Baalier takes a new name for himself as a human, Reinhardt. Finally, the last hurdle they have to cross for entrance to Temple is the matter of tuition. Considering that Temple is the most prestigious educational institute on the continent, tuition is far higher than what a simple beggar group can afford. Reinhardt asks Lawyer to only get enough money together for admission and a single semester, and assures her that he is guaranteed to awaken a talent and be recognized as a student that Temple will sponsor. Also, as a solution to their dwindling funds and begging methods not being sufficient, Reinhardt proposes that they sell toys at the Manhwa train station due to how much pedestrian traffic it gets and how many children will beg parents for the toys. Reinhardt gets drunk with the beggars that night for celebration and gets more information on the gang itself, which calls itself the Rotary Gang, and funds the demon infiltration team through Lawyer. And Reinhardt believes that they're hiding something to have made so much money as it is already. Before the conversation can go much further, Lawyer bursts in and berates the others for giving him alcohol, while scolding him for putting himself at risk. Reinhardt interrupts her and asks what her other source of income is, because there's no way they would be able to get enough through their usual methods. As it turns out, Lawyer was hiding the fact that the gang helps the Thieves Guild collect information. Lawyer doesn't seem willing to share more information, so they go to sleep for the night and head to the administration bureau the next day after getting his fake ID. As they stop in the counseling office, Reinhardt points out details he remembers from his novel, such as the tester that checks people for outstanding talent and lets them in without having to pay if they pass. At the admissions window, the registrar reveals that they stopped allowing students to pay for only a single semester of tuition, due to how kids let in that way are usually troublesome and try to borrow from other students to stay enrolled. The gang member that accompanied Reinhardt, Daibun, won't take that as the end and pushes Reinhardt to take the examination. Upon placing his hand on the crystal ball that will let him scan for talents, the ball malfunctions and the registrar leaves to get a new one. Upon retesting, Reinhardt is revealed to have aptitude, an inferior version of talent, for everything in the world. Though he may have the aptitude, he isn't yet strong in any particular area, so even with that potential, he'll have to enter a school of elites with hardly more ability than a normal human. We hope you enjoyed the story so far. Check out Demon King of the Royal Class if you'd like to see what happens next in Reinhardt's quest to survive his own novel.